Welcome everyone to the Bran'sTech podcast. We're so glad to have you here today. This podcast episode is in both audio and video form. The audio form is found anywhere you can find podcasts, but to check out the video, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tansson Talks. This episode will begin in just one moment after these messages, so please stay tuned. Have you ever thought about hosting your own podcast? Perhaps you already have one. Well, if you're looking for a podcast website, look no further than Podpage. A website design tool helped to create a better experience for your listeners. And in fact, my favorite part is that it allows for each guest to have their own dedicated landing page. That way, you can highlight each of your guests and their amazing accomplishments. I'm proud to have Podpage as the sponsor for the Bran'sTech Catch-Up series. If you're interested in going to Podpage, go ahead and go to podcast.bkhtech.net/podpage. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, this is Brandon K. Hedgepeth, lifelong learner, communicator, and your friend here for another episode of Bran'sTech. I'm really excited to get into today's catch-up interview. You know, doing these catch-up interviews has just been such a fun experience over these past couple months, and I'm just so excited to be continuing this here today. But without further ado, let me go ahead and reintroduce today's guest. They are a business owner, a music producer. They have been on this podcast before back in early 2021. Please welcome the one and only Vontrez Moore. Thank you so much for being here.
How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. How about yourself?
Good, man. You've got something great going on here. I mean, I was, like you just said, with you a couple years back when you kind of started doing this a little more legit and really promoting more. And wow, you've been doing a great job, bro. Keep it up.
Oh, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that.
For sure.
But how have you been? How? Yeah, I mean, it's been about a little over a year and a half since we've, truly had a chance to speak sort of face to face, out by virtually, and that was during this podcast.
I've been all right. Definitely been busy. That hasn't changed. But for the most part, I've been okay. Yeah.
Well, that is good to hear. So before we go ahead and get started for today, I did want to allow opportunity for you to go ahead and reintroduce yourself to the listening or viewing audience before we go ahead and get started for today.
Yeah. I'm Only Vontrez. I make music. For the most part, though, I consider myself a creative and a visionary. I just like how complex things can be, and that tends to be where I find the art in it. So, in agriculture, in music, in film, pretty much anything. If there's complexity to it, that's where I find the most satisfaction in the art of it. Um, that's what I spend all of my time doing is researching different things and how they work. And what makes it the most fun is when I can use those different complexities and apply them to different fields. Yeah.
Well, that is great to hear, and I mean, like I said, I've been excited to get into this for quite a while, and so I guess to go right into it, I will say first that this morning, right before we started, I actually re-listened to our first podcast episode together back in early 2021, and it was so great to hear all of your passions and everything that you've been working on. And one of the things that you said was that one of the reasons that we had to go through 2020 was so that you could make it to your ideal year of 2021. And so how was the rest of your 2021, since it was, I believe, March of 2021 when we last spoke?
It was okay because I ended up doing what I wanted to do with that time period, which was sit back and study a lot. I wanted to spend that time like really not spending a lot of money, um, really just doing a lot of research, listening to a lot of music. Um, I really wanted to spend that time just making it feel like I spent my entire day uh, invested into something, rather than spending. Um, so yeah, that was good.
Well, that is great to hear, and I know too that right before the pandemic officially you know became a major thing in 2020, that you had just recently started your company right beforehand, Only Artistry, and so
Yes, sir.
how's everything been going in that regards in terms of all of your productions, music, and all of the above?
So the really good thing about Only Artistry is it did what I wanted it to do. Um, when I first started looking into making what are online collectives, or I'm sorry, creative collectives, um, I've realized that a lot of the time you need to start out with a business idea that is completely simple, that just kind of gets to the point. We may have talked about this in our other interview, but just kind of gets to the point, um, and then just create content around it. Um, but for the most part, businesses tend to change their name, change their entire business model later because they've now crystallized what it is they're really trying to do. And that's what I knew Only Artistry was. I really wanted to make a down to the logo. Like I wanted everything to be completely simple, um, so that I can really focus on what I wanted to be about, what the message was. Once I got that, I was able to morph into what is now Students of the Stars. And I love that the name actually came in the way that it did. I mean, everything from Only Artistry to Students of the Stars correlates as a order of magnitude more than what once was. And down to the way that the page works, with the messages behind everything. So uh, Only Artistry did exactly what it was supposed to do. Um, and yeah, I think it's good.
Well, that's great that you were able to, to use it as a foundation and to continue growing and evolving. And that's the way that we all do. We start off, when we're born, and we grow and evolve, throughout the years to where we are now. So I'm glad to hear that your company was able to make that same progression forward.
Right, right. You got it, man. Down exactly a foundation.
And so, was it 2021 or this year 2022 when you officially made the transition, or is it, or actually, with it being a evolution, as we are saying, it truly is, I guess, always evolving. But when did you, I guess, realize that this was the evolution that needed to happen for the company?
Students of the Stars started to roll in. I want to say the end of 2021. So that sort of style and just the way I was trying to make the world look, um, and capture, that started to roll in definitely around November, maybe October. But then into 2022, where it started to crystallize itself as what it is today.
Well, that is great. And so with the new name, new identity for your company, how has it been, over these past several months?
Good, man. I'm creating a lot of things make a lot more sense now because, like I said, that order of magnitude. It's almost like in an equation. Like you earn a piece that helps you solve that equation way easier. It's the same idea. It's the same passion that you had originally, but now you have that X factor almost that helps you get to the next level of what you're trying to do here, and that has been discovered, and it's been definitely towards the end of 2021, and really 2021 itself. That was when that was brewing so much. I seen so many signs. I mean, the research was answering itself in a lot of situations, that helped me bring that Students of the Stars to what it is. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that that it's been able to work out like that thus far, and that you truly have been able to, like I said, see the signs, see where you're supposed to go, and just really go after it. And so I guess with the new evolution, have you, I guess, how has the company itself shifted to some of your new passions as opposed to the the original foundation of your company?
Yeah, so I had this problem when I was younger that I still suffer with today is that I'm interested into multiple things at the same time. Um, and when I was younger, I always assumed that that should force me to just get on one thing and be really good at it. Um, but when we started Only Artistry, I already knew I wanted different disciplines in it. Um, but at that time, in this business idea, I I had figured let's just make different disciplines in charge for different people who have a strong passion about it. Um, that's been a recent change that I've been able to make with Students of the Stars that I love the most. Is that now I'm doing what I already wanted to do since I've been a kid and that I do now, um, which is be in charge of all those different disciplines because that's how I live my life. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all the same perspective I'm trying to put out there under the same name, but having control of different disciplines allows me to show it in different ways, and that's what I'm really trying to become a master at. It's like, okay, if you don't understand it this way, let me show it in this way. You know what I'm saying? It's the same message, just I have to remain in control of that. Even though I was like, okay, maybe I should just focus on one thing. No, that's the bad. No, stick to what you know and do it all. Just you gotta accept that responsibility, and that's the cool thing about Students of the Stars. I can do that now.
Well, I'm so glad that like you've been able to figure that out. And I mean, even thinking from personal experience, I mean, for me, I have so many different varied interests all over the place. Like I love, technology, communication, science,
Yeah,
everything. and
exactly,
so
exactly.
and so it's like I think sort of diving into what you just said and even what you said last time too is that we can't necessarily just confine ourselves to just our comfort level or
Yeah,
just what everyone else is saying. Oh, okay, well you have to pick one thing. Like
yeah.
if we can do everything in our personal lives, who says that our business can't do the same thing?
That's literally what I was doing at that time. I was like, all right, let me put aside all the money I need to spend, because I don't need to spend it. Let me put aside like just everything that you don't really need in the day, and let me just focus on my passions, just focus on the crafts, and that I feel like I got what I was looking for because I was living the life that I already wanted to live. You know what I mean? Like I, and that's how it is to this day. And now the real world has begun to manifest into what I was, it's kind of like that fake till you make it type of thing. But when I was younger, I thought about it different. I was like, nah, why would you fake? But it's really more like put yourself in that mindset, like really be there. You know what I mean? And reality will start to pick up to where your mind is at with it because you'll just be putting yourself in them situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me think about two things. And so the first is, I think, like, at least for me anyway, when I was a kid, or at least a lot younger anyway, that, I would look up at the adults, the parents, the teachers, and everyone. And
Hmm.
see all of the stuff they could do. And that seems like, wow, it's like, can't wait to, when we can learn then that they have, are able to do so much things. But now as a young adult, it's like, oh, it's like this is truly you got to do the best that you can. Is that you don't get like some magical book that like
Yeah,
when you become an adult, like as soon as you turn 18, here's the book of how to do this, how to do that, how to like drive perfectly, how to do your
yeah.
job perfectly. You just have to figure it out for yourself.
When I started to realize that, that to me became encouragement that anything can be done the best way that you feel like it can be done. I mean, there really is no handbook for life. There really is no handbook for how you handle things. Um, but if you listen to the wisdom of others and and really apply yourself, you end up coming up with better ideas that may work for you that end up working better for somebody else. Like I'm sure we'll get into this, but it's just the way it works as a species. Is if we all listen to each other and then apply our own base knowledge, we'll become smarter. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, of course, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I mean, even doing like these podcast interviews, being able to hear so many different stories and how people have gotten to where they are now and how they're continuing to strive for greatness and yeah, but I think what's so interesting though is a lot of times too we think of like we look at Instagram, you look at magazines, you look at all the stuff and it just feels like all perfection. But when you really deep dive into it, you realize that perfection is just truly a manifestation of numerous faults.
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I mean, and it's crazy to think about. And I mean, it's true. We're none of us are perfect, but we're still striving to get to where we are and just trying to do our best, however, whichever way it comes out to be.
I think that's the best way to handle it most times. I mean, we we don't we we don't have a handbook for how things should be done, and I don't think we need a handbook for it, because once you start doing that, then I think you start to lose progress, because now everybody's doing everything the same way. You know what I mean? Everybody's doing everything the way that they know it to be done. And they're not looking. They're not, that you lose that curiosity for a more efficient, a more optimized way to get it done. Um, and and that's what I'm starting to realize as I get older here, um, and journey into adulthood, is that there's people that are my age, and there's people that are like 10, 20 years older than me, who we're all doing the same exact thing at the same place at the same time. um, but the knowledge that you learn from it is how you compare it to each other and put in your own input. That's really how you make the most out of that, um, because you can take that and take it elsewhere at any time you want. Yeah, that's how free it is to be a human.
Yeah, that is quite true. And I mean, to touch on what you were saying too, is like sometimes that we do stuff so often, even if we try to be innovative, like that it almost just becomes so routine to us that we actually don't really know what we're doing anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
That
it's a good point.
like it's almost like if you're trying to go from your house to your job and just driving, it's
Hmm.
just like I don't actually know the directions, but I mean I I know it because I've done it before,
Yes,
but you
exactly,
don't know the actual.
exactly. Exactly. So I was gonna say, kind of like how phone numbers are now. Like, you just trust that the phone number is gonna, what I mean, you know what it is when you press the contact, but you don't even know who to call, and it's okay, I guess. I mean, everybody's got a phone now, so I don't know. I'm sure in some way it balances itself out now. Now that there's cell phones everywhere, but for the most part, like, I wouldn't be able to call like at least five people on my contact right now. Like, so because if I didn't know what their name was.
That is quite true. I mean, we're in an ever so changing world, and I mean, things can just change at a blink of an eye, and it's like, I mean, like we didn't have what we have now like 20 years ago, but at the same time, you could say the same thing about 20 years before that, in the sense of like we're gonna be able to look back at this and it's like, oh, well, you all are doing a video chat. Who does that? Like we're onto the next thing,
You know, I,
hologram chat.
I tend to live in a constant state of thinking like that. Been like that since a kid, or like you said earlier, well, I don't remember how you said it, but we're still kids. But at least when I was younger, but I've always been in that constant state of like, one day this will look totally different. I guess you could say it's like a constant state of retrospect. Like, and it's finding a way to balance that has been a struggle for me for a while, because uh, you need to be in the present, I think, in order to maintain homeostasis, to be comfortable with where you're at in life. Um, but I just constantly feel like, if I'm thinking towards the future, or knowing that the present will change, somehow that'll help me uh, be in a better position in the future. Um, and I guess I'm posing the question to you, man, because you probably would know a little. Um, what do you think is the best way uh, to look towards making better future? Is it to focus on the present while you're in the present, or to look towards the future? I mean, what's I hope I'm wording that the right way.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and that's such an interesting question, especially for me as a future-based thinker, where like to me everything is all about the future, whether intentionally or not. But I feel like you can't always look towards the future because I feel like what's so hard is you can make the absolute perfect plan,
Hmm.
and if you don't do anything about it, that's all it is. It's just a plan. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong. I am one who has hundreds of plans, but you have to also you can't let go of the present either.
Right.
Like, and so I feel like the way that at least I've been, because this has been almost like an internal struggle too, is both future thinking and thinking in the present, is you have to start somewhere. Like you have to start where you are right now, and then and while it's nice to think about the future, if you're like me and you have to be future focused, think about the future as in later today.
Okay. I like how you did that, man. See, I knew you were the person to ask.
Yeah, because I mean, when really thinking about it, it's just like it's so easy to get ahead of yourself and create the final product first.
Yes.
But and actually, if you think about it, it just hit me. If you think about, I mean, even TV shows and movies that think about the future,
Hmm.
you see all of these robots all over the place and all of this and that. And of course, we're not quite where we are there, but we have a lot of the same concepts.
Yes.
But you notice, like, you have these, I mean, giant wooden rectangular robots. Well, that's how computers were back then,
Yeah.
but you skip the whole evolution process.
Yeah. I
And
see what you're
so
saying.
if you're wondering, like, hey, how come we aren't where these futures are? Well, we technically actually are, but it's in a different way. And
Exactly.
like, even for me, I love writing, but I used to always get ahead of myself with
Uh,
accidentally writing the end of the story before writing the middle.
yeah.
And when you start writing the middle, you end up with a completely different ending, which, I mean, might hurt sometimes because you might really love the ending, but that's you can't just just skip. Like, that's not the way life works. You have to keep on going.
I think that's actually a really important piece that you said that because I mean I think the moral to it is what we're both trying to find is balance. um, because at that balance you end up picking up both pieces. You end up being in the present while working on the future. I think that's what you're supposed to do. um, and like you said, I struggle at leaning towards the future more. But with that, you can get lost in the present and come back sometimes, and now it's not it's not what you thought it was right now. You know what I mean? But if you get right in that balance, right in that area, you end up making the track as you go across it, like you're saying. So that's good.
Yeah, and like you said, it truly is just finding the balance, and it's almost like a eternal struggle sometimes, where like when you're working to try to find it, and you know that you have to do something, but you
Yeah.
don't actually know the direction that you
Yeah.
want to head in. It's just like I have to do something, but what exactly is there to do? And even with the internet at our fingertips, it's so easy to just try to Google it.
Exactly.
But there is no answer to that. Each person has their own situation.
Yeah, that's true. Sure. Yeah, I can't even deny that.
But yeah, but like I said, Vontrez, like I said, I am loving speaking with you, and I actually, if you don't mind, I would love for you to, yeah, I mean, just take over this conversation because I mean, I just absolutely love everything you're saying, and I would definitely want to make the most of your time while you're here and being able
Yeah.
to speak with us as we're closing out this year.
Yeah, yeah, of course, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad to be here too. I felt like a catch up interview was a good idea because you get an opportunity to check in with all the people that you've already talked to before. So this is cool, man. Because not only do you get to catch up with me, but I get to catch up with you.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you already know this, but for those, those listening or viewing, I'm so used to just saying listening that I completely forget sometimes that these are video podcasts for those watching. But when we first did our interview at the beginning of 2021, that you had actually asked about a video podcast, and I mean, even though I wasn't doing them then, I mean, look at where we are now. We made it happen, and it's just that gradual evolution.
Yeah, I could see it in what you were doing. That having a video platform, you really could execute it, man. And you're doing it, bro. You just did it. You know what I mean? So, like I said earlier, we might not have been on camera, but dude, you're brilliant, man. Everything you do and everything you're a part of, just it continues to be really nice and really there's not a word for it that I think I have, but it's well put together because it doesn't lack anything. There's a word for that, man, and I'm gonna have it for you. I'm probably gonna be when we're done here. Um, but those are the type of things that I like when you're producing a passion, because I'm not looking for anything else. It feels like when I'm doing work with you or viewing any content you put out, I know what I'm coming for. I'm coming for Bran'sTech. He's doing it correctly. You see what I'm saying? Like everything that you're connected to tends to be right on your passion. You know what I mean? So it doesn't feel shorthanded. It doesn't feel like, oh, he's just doing this just to be doing this. You know what I mean? Um, that's what I love about it, man.
Thank you so much. I so greatly appreciate that.
Indeed, yeah.
And well, as someone who's known me for quite a long time, I think that you would agree when I say that. I mean, it's so interesting when people like speak to me. They're like, "Wow, it's like you've been doing this for a while." It's like I'm sure like grown up wanting to do this. It's like no, quite the opposite. I did not want to be anywhere doing any of this stuff. I wanted to. I mean, well, for me, I've always grown up, wanting to, yeah, be a teacher, help mentor people. That's something I've always wanted to do. But
Mhm.
but content creation, podcasting. I mean, I wouldn't have even known what that stuff was. I mean,
Right.
I didn't even up until I started making YouTube videos. I barely even watched YouTube. Like, so I mean, it's crazy to think like how our paths are just like how they manifest. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something to keep in mind when you go through day to day life, how you interact with people and how you interact with yourself. Um, you gotta understand that the repercussions of what you do, um, those ripples, you tend to still walk across them. You tend to still come in contact with them. Um, so if you do the right things at the right time, later on, something will be there right when you need it again. You know what I mean? Um, if you do the wrong things, later on, something's going to come up on you and you don't need it.
Yeah, that's definitely the most 2022, explanation of that for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And so, Vontrez, like going into the remainder of this year, 2022, and finishing out, well, yeah, finishing out 2022, and then entering into 2023, and not too long from now. That's
Hmm.
crazy for me to think about, and it'll be even
Yeah.
closer by the time this
We're
releases.
closer
But
than ever, man.
yeah, and so like, what are some of the plans that you have set? Are you still working on them, finalizing them? Anything that we should be excited about?
Yeah, man. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm ready to finally roll out that I had been working on earlier in the year. Um, so, on Students of the Stars, uh, there's a lot of one of one objects, and I guess you can call them trinkets. Uh, More just items. Not trying to make it anything else, but they're these one of one items that I've put together or have found that I want to sell and give to people, um, because I feel like each piece represents something, and you can grab something from it. Some of them are already a certain way. Others I've customized myself. So I'll be rolling that out on Students of the Stars. Um, and then there will be more visual art, which are digital murals on Students of the Stars. And then there, you said end of 2023, right? I think that's all we can say right now. But it should be good.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to all of that. And as soon as I said that anything to look forward to, there's always stuff to look forward to for you. I mean, it's always amazing whenever I'm able to, to see some of the work that you are putting out, the stuff you are planning, and being able to hear your thought process. I mean, it's always an amazing like pleasure to be able to be invited into these conversations and to hear more about it, because like I said, I know that you are doing some great things, and yeah, and truly going after your passions. And I mean it's one of those things where, for those of you watching or listening, like it is always an absolute pleasure being able to speak with Vontrez. But yeah, the true act of being here speaking with him is just, you can't match this.
Hey man, thank you. I really appreciate that, man. I feel the same about you. Every time that we would be in other meetings, man, and there'd be other people around, I just wanted people to understand how important it was to be in the presence of Brandon, because you put in so much work, man, and it always comes out the right way. That's what we're talking about here. That's probably what we have in common there, is that when you produce your passion, man, it has to come out the right way. That's what it is. That's probably what it is. So we get angsty about it, you know. You gotta make sure you're doing the work the right way. So probably what you see in me is what I see in you, bro.
Thank you so much. I very always appreciate having you on, speak with you online, offline, whatever the case may be. And yeah, but while you are here, is there anything else that you would like to say, highlight, any questions that you'd like to ask? The floor is all yours.
Yeah, yeah. To everybody that made it this far into the episode, thank you guys for staying. I love Brandon. So if you have something that you'd like to promote or just want to chat about amazing conversations, please talk to this guy because he's got it. Um, if you enjoyed having me here, my most recent work is called More Than a Dream. Um, and it's a body of work where I'm explaining the colliding of two worlds and what that feels like to a person. Um, I would love for you guys to check it out and tell me how you feel about it. Um, yeah.
Well, that is so great to hear. And for those who definitely want to go check that out, which I'm sure all of you do, are you able to let us know where we can find it? Because I'm sure that we have to send a stream of people out to go listen to it.
SoundCloud and YouTube, Only Vontrez, More Than a Dream. Yeah, for sure. That's it.
Well, that is awesome. And like I said, I just surely hope that we're able to have another one of these amazing conversations within the near future, whether it's on the platform or otherwise, because it's always such a pleasure to speak with you.
I love it. I love it. Me too. Soon.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just to make sure, are there any other places that people can go find you, whether it be social media or otherwise? I did want to make sure everyone can check out everywhere that they can find you and
You can
hear all.
find, excuse me, you can find everything on studentsofthestars.com. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome, and I hope you all go check that out. And to close this out, Vontrez, if you are able to do the honors of leaving us out with whether it be a closing remark, a favorite quote, a life lesson, or anything that you would like, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, man. I would just tell everybody, just be yourself. I've been telling myself that for a while, but it's the easiest way to get through the day. Um, just be yourself.
Well, that is so great to hear. And like I said, thank you so much for being yourself and for being here and inspiring us as always. It's just such a pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Brandon. I can't wait to come back, man.
Of course. And for those of you watching or listening, have a wonderful day, everyone, and let's make things happen. I'll see y'all next time. Take care.
Love you guys.
Thank you so much to Podpage for sponsoring the Bran'sTech Catch-Up series. Use the referral link included in this podcast to learn more. A big thank you, of course, goes out to all of you listeners out there and to our amazing guests who come on out and be on the platform. Bran'sTech has been created and produced by Brandon K. Hedgepeth of Tansson, LLC.